In ancient Greece, it was the absolute symbol of victory. Over in Rome, emperors proudly wore it right on their heads. In medieval Europe, people aggressively burned it to ritually purify their spaces. And all across modern-day America, it is a powerhouse spice, completely dominating every single kitchen. Throughout the entire history of mankind, the bay leaf remains one of the absolute oldest surviving culinary legacies, sitting right there on our dining tables. But did you know that this incredibly familiar ingredient absolutely was not originally harvested for any cooking recipe? It was initially utilized strictly to violently repel insects or actively deployed as a harsh antiseptic. And it was even heavily utilized to aggressively mask the foul stench of rotting slabs of meat. So what exactly is a bay leaf? To answer that exact question, we have to completely shatter a massive myth. The vast majority of people assume it is nothing more than a tasteless, dried-up piece of foliage. A boring, mundane culinary chore. I personally used to think my mother was completely irrationally obsessed when she fiercely insisted on tossing this bone-dry leaf straight into a pot of beef stew. Try chewing on a corner of a raw leaf. It is violently bitter, bone-dry, astringent. You will literally feel like you are chewing on a torn, shredded piece of wax paper. But the bay leaf is absolutely not tasteless. It is a colossal, incredibly complex vault of essential oils. With the gold standard Mediterranean bay laurel, essential oils actively account for roughly 1.3% of the leaf's entire mass. Its chemical breakdown doesn't resemble a vegetable at all. It looks exactly like a miniaturized chemical laboratory. It packs a staggering 45% eucalyptol, another 12% of various other terpenes, alongside 8 to 12% terpenyl acetate and exactly 3% methyluginol. How exactly does something so violently bitter forge an absolutely flawless pot of broth? The ultimate secret lies entirely in the principle of thermal stress. Culinary expert Kenji López-Alt once conducted an intensely curious experiment. He dropped bay leaves directly into a pot of violently boiling water. After exactly 5 flat minutes, he scooped some up for a taste. The liquid instantly assaulted his senses with a sharp, cooling aroma, almost identical to pure mint or eucalyptus oil. That is strictly because the intense thermal pressure aggressively forced the eucalyptol to violently release. But hold on. When he continued to let it slowly simmer for an entire hour, the true chemical miracle actually occurred. The boiling water had slowly, meticulously, completely shattered the leaf's cellular membrane structure. That harsh, aggressively cooling aroma completely vanished. In its place emerged a profoundly sweet herbal tea profile, carrying a subtle, warmly earthy undertone. It absolutely does not overpower the other ingredients. It silently, flawlessly binds every single spice in that pot together into one unified, spectacular masterpiece. An astonishing, jaw-dropping level of culinary finesse. But if it is truly that spectacular, why exactly is there a deeply terrifying rumor wildly spreading all across America, claiming that this specific leaf is packed with lethal toxins and absolutely must be thrown away? You have undoubtedly heard someone aggressively warn you about this. Never, ever swallow a bay leaf. Children could literally die if they ingest one. I can definitively assure you that culinary-grade bay leaves are completely, 100% non-toxic, not even a single trace. We absolutely do not fish them out of our food out of a desperate fear of being poisoned. We violently toss them out for a fundamentally, exponentially more ruthless physical reason. Its literal anatomical structure. The vast majority of standard culinary herbs will completely turn to mush and dissolve the second they hit hot water. Bay leaves absolutely do not. It possesses a colossal, staggering payload of cellulose and lignin. These are the exact chemical compounds that give rigid wood its sheer hardness. You could aggressively boil it for 10 straight hours, and the edges of that leaf will still remain as terrifyingly sharp as a razor blade. And that is the absolute true threat. If you accidentally swallow one, it is completely indigestible. That violently rigid leaf can literally slice your esophagus to shreds or aggressively puncture your intestinal wall, triggering an instant, fatal choking hazard. The exact thing delivering the absolute smoothest flavor profile simultaneously wields the most intensely dangerous physical structure. So why exactly did this toxic rumor spread so aggressively? Because nature always harbors flawless, incredibly deceptive imposters. Ancient populations tragically confused the true bay laurel with the cherry laurel or the mountain laurel. On the surface, they look completely, identically the same. But these imposter plants pack a massive, deadly payload of cyanogenic glycosides. The exact second the leaf is violently crushed, this compound instantly generates hydrogen cyanide gas. An aggressively lethal toxin wielding more than enough sheer power to ruthlessly assassinate both humans and livestock alike. This fatal, catastrophic mix-up violently seeded a deep-seated terror that heavily lingered across multiple generations. It is absolutely, completely non-toxic to humans. But buried deep inside those seemingly harmless leaf veins lies a ruthlessly brutal chemical weapon targeted against an entirely different species. Let's aggressively rewind time. Straight back to medieval Europe. Absolutely no refrigerators. Heavy slabs of pork hanging in damp cellars, violently and rapidly rotting, reeking of putrefaction. The water supply heavily infested with completely invisible, deadly bacteria. In that brutally dark context, our ancestors absolutely did not toss bay leaves into the pot on a desperate hunt for delicious flavor. They were actively fighting for sheer survival. I once pored over the ancient text Ancient Cookery AD 1381. There is an absolutely bizarre, deeply grotesque recipe for a pork foot jelly. They violently boiled down pig feet, pig ears, and chicken feet, all mixed with red partridge meat. They aggressively hurled in cinnamon, cloves, and were strictly mandated to scatter fresh young bay leaves entirely across the surface. They did this strictly to actively mask the violently foul stench of rotting meat. And even more crucially, the eugenyl essential oil locked inside the leaf is a staggeringly powerful, all-natural antibacterial agent. It aggressively decelerates the violent proliferation of deadly pathogens, literally allowing humans to swallow down their meals without losing their lives. But its absolute true power completely shatters far beyond the confines of the kitchen. It is a literal, biological defense machine. Just go ask any professional entomologist. You will be completely mind-blown. Inside their sterile laboratories, they violently crush fresh bay leaves and line the absolute bottom of insect-killing jars. The vapor that aggressively vents out packs 1/8 cineol, alpha-terpinyl acetate, and methyl eugenyl. This is literal lethal gas. It slowly, ruthlessly assassinates the insects, flawlessly preserving their soft corpses for scientific specimens, while absolutely, completely preventing any mold from ever growing. That is the exact reason your grandmother always shoved dried bay leaves deep into the violate bin to violently repel flies, cockroaches, and pantry moths. The seemingly innocent leaf floating right there in your soup pot is, in reality, a deeply formidable, completely natural pesticide. This specific biological weapon is so staggeringly complex that the federal government was actually forced to place it under an absolute ironclad surveillance system. Do you think buying a simple spice is an easy thing? Right here in North America, these dried leaves are forcefully subjected to incredibly draconian, fiercely strict legal hurdles. I actively analyzed the Canadian Food and Drugs Act and uncovered a staggeringly fascinating truth. You absolutely cannot just arbitrarily grind up random leaves, slap a label on them, and sell them to the public. The government strictly mandates that ground bay leaves must absolutely not contain a total ash content exceeding 4.5%. The acid-insoluble ash is ruthlessly capped at a maximum of exactly 0.5%. The moisture content is violently suppressed, legally forced to remain under 7%, and the absolute essential oil payload must never ever drop below 1 milliliter per 100 grams of spice. Why exactly do we need these fiercely absolute numbers? Because the natural world is completely flooded with highly deceptive botanical traps aggressively masquerading as bay leaves. A single microscopic mix-up could instantly trigger a literal medical catastrophe. The gold standard bay laurel is Laurus nobilis, hailing straight from the Mediterranean. But right here on the west coast of the United States, we have the California bay laurel. Its leaves are noticeably long and slender, packing an aggressively pungent, wildly extreme aroma that smells almost identical to harsh medical chemicals. Even more terrifyingly, it houses a deeply dangerous toxin known as umbellulone. Mishandling it can violently trigger methemoglobinemia, an incredibly dangerous blood disorder that literally paralyzes your cells, forcefully preventing them from releasing oxygen into your body. And absolutely do not forget the Indian bay leaf, widely known as tejpat. It rocks an olive green hue and is literally twice as long, visually dominating with 3 distinct vertical veins running straight down the length of the leaf. Its flavor profile heavily mimics young cinnamon and cloves, carrying absolutely zero herbal notes whatsoever. The sheer, unadulterated chaos of these botanical variants physically forced the heavy hand of the law to aggressively intervene just to protect you. Surviving straight past those lethal, deadly traps, the gold standard Mediterranean leaf actively conceals one final colossal treasure. A staggering discovery possessing the sheer power to completely alter modern medicine. We actively fish it out. We violently throw it away. But we are completely, utterly oblivious to the fact that we just threw away a literal miracle pill. Modern medical science is slowly but aggressively unveiling the spectacular healing properties of the bay leaf. It packs a staggering payload of vitamin A, C, iron, and calcium. But that is merely scratching the absolute surface. It actively houses parthenolide, a profoundly powerful compound boasting the sheer ability to aggressively combat chronic, fiercely lingering migraines. Its massive payload of eugenol operates as a heavy-duty anti-inflammatory, wielding enough sheer power to violently soothe even the absolute worst toothaches. Even more staggeringly, the Journal of Clinical Biochemistry and Nutrition officially published a deeply groundbreaking study. Individuals who routinely consumed ground bay leaves or drank it as a tea experienced a phenomenally massive improvement in their lipid profiles. Their blood sugar levels violently plummeted. Their bad cholesterol levels were aggressively suppressed. This represents a colossal, blinding beacon of hope for millions of type 2 diabetes patients right here in America. This specific leaf was absolutely never just a mere culinary ingredient. It is a literal, tangible witness to the entire history of mankind. It is deeply rooted straight into ancient Greek mythology. The nymph Daphne, desperately fleeing the intensely obsessive, suffocating love of the god Apollo, literally, violently morphed herself into a bay laurel tree. Drowning in profound grief, Apollo snapped off a branch and proudly declared it the eternal, immortal symbol of honor and absolute victory. Do you actually know what the term baccalaureate, the bachelor's degree that millions of American college students receive every single year, actually means? It traces its roots straight back to Latin. It literally translates to berries of the laurel. Even inside the Eastern Orthodox Church, they violently hurl these exact leaves high into the air to deeply commemorate Jesus Christ completely, shattering the gates of hell and aggressively liberating trapped souls. The grandiose journey of the bay leaf is an absolutely spectacular, breathtaking paradox. From a triumphant crown resting proudly on the head of a Roman emperor, straight to a biological weapon violently repelling insects, only to ultimately humbly sink straight to the absolute bottom of your family's soup pot. Absolutely nobody chews it. Absolutely nobody swallows it. But not a single flawlessly executed feast can possibly exist without its presence. Because sometimes the absolute most grandiose legacies always choose to actively operate in absolute silence.